To satisfy your hunger for independent horror, check out Wild Eye Releasing. The link will be in the description.
I'm gonna give you some terrible thrill, like a science fiction double feature. Dr. X.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Joe again from Grindhouse Grotto. Hope you all are having a wonderful weekend. I've got two really cool films that I'm excited to review for you all, and they come compliments of the fine folks over at Wild Eye Releasing. They sent me a big box last week, and I'm now reviewing these movies. So yeah, if you enjoy these reviews, go ahead and check them out. The link will be in the description. They've got some incredible stuff, guys. Go check their online store out. They've got really cool films. They've got VHS releases. If you're into old school VHS releases, you know, the big box era of VHS, go to their website. A lot of their films that have kind of pretty much gained cult status, they are releasing them on a limited release on VHS, which I am so excited to get my hands on one of their releases. But yeah, guys, awesome company, really cool movies, and I am excited to bring you all these two reviews today. So the first film I'm going to be reviewing is Beware the Lake. A really fun film, and I was pleasantly surprised by how creative this film was and how entertaining it was. Okay, you get the sense in watching the film that it's definitely a low budget release, but at the same time it's got really good storytelling. The characters are very well developed. You're interested in the characters. The acting is actually surprisingly pretty good. I've seen a lot of independent films where, you know, the acting is really silly at times. You're like, where do they find these people? But this film actually has pretty solid acting. And the directing, you can tell that this person, if they had a bigger budget, this film could have been absolutely phenomenal. Not to say that it's a bad film right now as it stands. It's a good film. But on a bigger budget, this film would have been absolutely crazy. But anyways, so I'll let you all check out this cool cover art there. On the front it says, "There are secrets in the water," which I will get into with the plot. And then on the back it says, "A harmless prank with deadly consequences. Tabitha is a new girl at school who catches the eye of the local football hero. This gets her on the bad side of the high school cheerleading captain, and she is lured into a secluded lake for drinks and a late night swim. There, Tabitha is drugged, stranded, and eventually murdered, but something brings Tabitha back to life, so she can take revenge on those who sent her to a water grave." So guys, when you first look at this cover art, it's kind of misleading. I had a whole different idea of what I thought this film was before I went into it. I was thinking that it was some kind of creature film, some kind of, you know, monster that's in this lake that is after this young girl, but that is not the case. This story is is way different than what you would think by looking at this cover, which is not a bad thing. After you've seen the movie and you look at this cover, it all makes sense, but when you first look at it, you just have this, you know, different idea of the plot. But yeah, really cool film. I enjoyed the hell of this film. I watched it from beginning to end. I didn't find myself distracted. I was completely glued into the TV. Like I said, the characters are very entertaining. The acting is very well done. It is a low budget film, so it has that low budget feel, but the actors do a phenomenal job, okay? There's a couple actors that are questionable, but for the most part, they are really well acted. The story moves along really well from beginning to end. You are invested in the story. You're invested in the characters. And I think that's really important with a film. And you want to feel glued to the TV at all times. And this film does that. What this film does is it's basically a revenge film. It's not a horror film. It's a murder revenge. But it's kind of got a little supernatural twist to it, which I will get into. This film takes place, the first opening sequence of the film takes place in Romania. And the acting is all subtitled because it is in Romania. So it takes place, you know, I would say probably like 10 years prior. And this Romanian family, they are outside their house. They're playing out in the fields. You can tell that they are in like a a small village, okay, an undeveloped village in Romania. And the family's playing out in the field, and this young little girl and her brother are out playing by this lake. And something happens to the little girl, and we don't really know what happens to her, but it is presumed that she, drowns in the lake. The little boy comes running back to the parents, and they just break down in tears, and it cuts forward. We see the parents in this cabin, and like I said, it's presumed that the little girl died. And at that point in time, the aunt comes in the house, and some kind of voodoo curse happens, and that's the end of the first sequence. So some voodoo curse surrounding this little girl happens. Flash forward in time, we see this, small suburban town, and this young girl, we're kind of assuming that she's the girl from the beginning part of the film, which we find out she is, in fact, the girl from the beginning part of the film. But she's the new girl in town, and her whole family has died, and she is living with her, I guess, aunt or one of her family members. It's not really stated who she's living with, but she's living with some family. And all the guys in town are kind of fascinated by her. She brings this different feel to her. You've got a lot of like rich, snobby, like cheerleader type girls that are in town. And all the boys are kind of like bored with these girls because they're stereotypical, high school snobs. And so they're starting to kind of be infatuated with this young Romanian girl. And this girl, since she's new to town, doesn't really know what's going on, so she's kind of like tagging along with these, football kids, and one of the kids helps her find a job, and these other girls, or I'm going to call the mean girls in town, are kind of becoming jealous because she's stealing away all their shine. Well, cut to the chase. Basically what happens is these girls play a prank on this Romanian girl. They make her feel like she's part of their little clique. They lure her in. They bring her to this lake where they're going to presumably drink and swim and all that. And it's kind of like they make it feel like it's an initiation into their little clique. And she's kind of like, she recognizes that they're snobs and not really her type or the type of person she would hang out with, but she wants to be accepted into the town, so she agrees to go with these girls. While they're on the way there, some things happen. She ends up getting drugged, and she gets left in the lake. And then these two local hillbillies show up and basically try to rape her, and they end up drowning her in the lake, and she dies. And from that point forward, things get crazy in the town. Okay, if you've seen murder revenge films, and you kind of know what this film's about. It feels like Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave. It's got that kind of feel, but it's its own film. It's got its own thing going on, and I don't want to spoil the entire plot. But that's basically what happens. It's a murder revenge. Something is killing the people in town. I think you can kind of assume what's going on here. But yeah, that's the plot of the movie, and I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I really enjoyed this film a lot. Like I said, the pacing was good. I was glued from beginning to end. I will say this, at the end of the movie, it is a little silly. I felt like the ending could have been better. Okay? That is my only complaint with this film. At the end of the film, I was left a little bit unsatisfied. But I don't think it ruined the entire film. It's just the ending part of the movie was a little off to me. But for the most part, I really enjoyed this film. I would highly recommend it. I definitely think that if you're into this type of film, then go ahead and check it out. I would recommend it. Next up. Now, this is a completely different type of film, which I enjoy this film as well. It's got a whole different feel to it, and that is Apocalypse Road. This is a post-apocalyptic survivor type movie, okay? There is just so much going on in this movie. It's a very slow burner type of film, and I will get into that once I get into the plot. But let's talk about the cover art on that. Really cool there. Now, when I first saw this, I thought something completely different. I thought these were like some kind of like samurai people in the background, which I was completely off, okay? These are actually kind of like gangsters in the back. And this is presumably one of the girls in this movie. But really cool cover art there. On the back it says, "On this road, each step is treacherous, and every mile a nightmare. Following an apocalyptic event, two sisters are hunted down and separated by a gang of ruthless killers, intent on creating their own twisted form of law and order. The sisters must fight through this new, dangerous world to stay alive in the hopes of being reunited and escaping to freedom." Okay, so my initial thoughts on Apocalypse Road. This film visually is absolutely phenomenal. The cinematography in this is beautiful. They do really cool camera angles on here. You can tell the person that made this film, the film team, they spent a lot of time. They have a lot of experience with having really cool visuals, really good film editing. This film just looks really good stylistically. Okay, and I think that's the biggest positive I can say about this film. Is visually it looks incredible. Cinematography is beautiful. The cinematography kind of drives this film. I feel like without the cinematography, this film would be really slow and it trucks along. It's a slow burner type of film, okay? You have to watch it and pay very close attention to what's going on. You got to pull little Easter eggs throughout the film. It's that type of film where you got to make sure you don't miss any little thing, because then you won't know what's going on. And everything basically culminates at the end of the movie, and it's revealed kind of what this movie's all about. You don't really know anything that's going on until the end of the film. So you have to pay very close attention to what's going on and make sure you get every little fine detail. But I think there's enough entertaining factors to this film that even if you miss a few things and you don't know what's going on, you still feel pretty satisfied at the end of this movie. So this film centers around two girls. They are sisters, and they are traveling across country in this post-apocalyptic world where, there's no law and order. They are constantly, you get the impression that they're constantly on the run. They're on the run from something. We see this little camp where these people have been branded, and presumably if you've been branded, and basically something happens to the people that are branded, which they never really explain, but these two girls are not branded, so they are being hunted by somebody. And they have no family, all they have is themselves. And you get the impression that these two sisters are very close in age, they are very connected, they're like one in the same, they just feel like, almost like Siamese twins, one can't function without the other, okay? And they're very, very beautiful, attractive women, and we see that play out in some other scenes in the film where, there's just not that many attractive people left. And they make a little comment in the movie that everybody in this post-apocalyptic world has become lazy and fat, okay? So when these other male characters come in there and they see these two attractive girls that have not been branded, they're like blown away. They're like, we didn't know these type of girls exist anymore, okay? And I just find this film to be just very intriguing. There's something that makes you glued to the movie. And like I said, you just don't really know what's going on, but you're fascinated. You want to find out more. And so throughout the film, these two girls, they encounter these different groups of bandits that they're not part of this overall organization that's hunting these people down. They're just random people that are trying to survive, that are making the best of this post-apocalyptic world. They're just trying to survive like everybody else. And I think it's a really, really cool how in this movie, everybody's got their own little backstory. So each person or group of people that these two girls come in contact with have some story about their survival and how they've gotten to this point. And it's like a free-for-all. Everybody's got to basically do morally wrong stuff in order to survive. And this new world, this apocalyptic world, you can't get by being a nice person. You have to basically be kind of ruthless and do unmoral things in order to survive. And that plays out throughout the film. Some little surprises that you're like, oh my god, you just weren't expecting that. You're just expecting these two girls to be very innocent, and then you see them do things that really just blows your mind, and you're like, wow, you know, you get the sense of dread and what these girls are going through in their head and what they've had to do to endure, you know, this new world. So they meet up with a group of 3 guys who are, you know, kind of these bandit type, and they are trying to lure in this girl. So the 2 girls, I forgot to mention, these 2 girls get separated at one point in the film. And one girl kind of gets injured and she gets rescued by this other guy, which I'll get into her little subplot. And the other girl, the one that's slightly younger, she gets brought in by these 3 bandit type guys, kind of bring her in, and initially they are attracted by her beauty, but then they see that she's very skilled, okay? She's acquired some survival techniques and things that she's done to survive. She's very skilled, and they want to kind of bring her into their little group. So they don't really see her as a sexual object anymore. They see her as somebody that could help them, you know, navigate this new world. So they want to bring her in, and they're trying to kind of like initiate her into their little group. They want her to kill somebody, and they want her to do these little things to prove her worth in the group, to prove that she's going to be an asset to them. The other girl is out with this other guy who saves her, and he's somebody who's escaped this little village where they have everybody that's branded, that's been detained. He escaped from this, you know, this camp, and you know, he's got his own little subplot, little story of what got him to this point. And the movie trucks along, and basically, you know, in a nutshell, what happens is these girls end up meeting up to where they were intended to go to. And this whole story is just basically their story of survival until they get to where they're going. Kind of feels to me kind of like Book of Eli a little bit. It doesn't have that religious subplot going on in it, but that journey, that travel, you know, like there's this endless feeling of going across the country and trying to survive. It's got that feeling. And definitely the visuals feel like Book of Eli, if you've seen that movie. That's the best way I can explain Apocalypse Road. It just feels very post-apocalyptic. It feels like very cutthroat. Got to do whatever you have to do to survive. That's the kind of film this is. If you enjoy that type of film, then I definitely think you would enjoy Apocalypse Road. If you're the type of person that, you know, you can't pay attention in a film, or you can't catch every little thing that's going on in a film, this film is going to be a little bit difficult for you, because everything works with each other and you have to see every little thing that's going on in order to make sense of this film. But anyways, guys, I would say the first film, Beware the Lake, is my favorite out of the 2. I think the 2 of them are both pretty decent films. I would recommend either one of them, but Beware the Lake is the one that I enjoyed more. I did enjoy this film, but it was a little bit harder for me to understand what was going on, and that's kind of what my frustration with this film was. Everything else about this film I thought was really good. It's just, like I said, it's kind of confusing at times. Anyways, guys, those are my reviews on these 2 films from Wild Eye Releasing. I recommend them both. If you enjoy them, like I said, go ahead and check them out. Check their website out. The link will be in the description. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's review. Do you enjoy these type of films, post-apocalyptic films, you know, murder revenge type films? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. And please, if you enjoyed this review, do support my channel. All support is greatly appreciated. Alright guys, until next time, take it easy.